creating, we create like an altar. That's the first thing I do, like now, not in the future when you get the big sofa and like now. What can we do now? That will make a difference. That will start to move the energy, move the needle.
Hey friend, today's conversation lives at a really powerful intersection. The spaces we live in and the lives we are quietly building inside of them. Today I dialogued with Olga Naiman, designer, author, and creator of Spatial Academy. Her work moves far beyond aesthetics. She brings together interior design, depth psychology, and embodiment to explore how our environments don't just reflect who we are, how they actively shape who we are becoming. And what struck me immediately in this conversation is how personal this work is for her. From being born in Ukraine and arriving in the US as a child refugee to navigating years of upheaval and healing, her relationship to safety, beauty, and environment was forged through lived experience. With a background in editorial at places like House Beautiful and years spent inside some of the most beautiful homes in the world, she began to notice something deeper. That space has a direct relationship to the body, to the nervous system, to our sense of self. This conversation opens up what becomes possible when we stop thinking about our homes as something separate from us or abstract from us and begin to see them as extensions of our inner world that can inform us. We explore how environments hold outdated identities, how they mirror our patterns, and how small intentional shifts can begin to change the trajectory of our lives. This is a conversation about release, about seeding something new, about stepping into your future self in a way that is tangible, grounded, and happening all around you. As you listen, I have a feeling you'll start to see your own home differently, your own office differently, what it's holding, where it might be asking for change, what's holding you back, and who you are ready to become inside of it. And I will tell you, after the conversation I had with her, I was immediately inspired to make some major shifts in my office and in my home, and I feel incredibly better. You can check out on Instagram a little video that I created to show you the updated version of my office after I spoke with her. So thanks for being here. I can't wait to see how this informs you. Let's go. Welcome to The Authentic Creative, where we expand our capacity to feel good one deep breath, one bold choice, and maybe a little bit of magic at a time. I'm Siri Baruch Thornton, healer, creative, and lifelong explorer of all things energy, self-expression, and joy. With over 26 years of experience in Reiki, Akashic Records, and transformational breathwork, I've learned that feeling good is not a luxury, it's a practice. And sometimes it's a little messy. This podcast is here to help you trust your intuition, break the rules, the ones that need breaking, and live more fully in your gifts. So give yourself a deep breath, get cozy, and let's dive in. I'm so delighted, excited, because Olga, I'm so glad you're here. Immediately, you've made me feel at home. On my own podcast. Just when we started talking, you were already like into me and sharing and validating me. And it's just so refreshing to have that safety that I give to others, given straight back to me immediately. So thank you for that. And I just feel your heart and your warmth and your fresh energy and your clarity and your purpose already just in the few minutes that we've been speaking. I'm really excited about the intersections of beauty and psychology and embodiment and transformation. This is my jam, so I'm so excited to talk to you. I already know that we could talk for days. I already feel like the listeners are in for such an incredible treat by getting to peek into your world and peek into your mission and what you're on the cutting edge of, because already I know that you're so aligned with growth, and really that's what our audience cares about, is growth. So as I was saying before we started, I'm interested in your origin, like who the person is, because as a listener of a podcast, we don't just want to know where you are today. We want to understand what brought you there. And so I'm just curious, where were you born? what was the first few years of your life like? Maybe you can bring us through some quick segment chapters of those first formidable years, just kind of an overview of us understanding why you care so much about transformation and safety and embodiment, and people understanding how we can change our patterns in our environment.
Mm, mm. Thank you. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. And yeah, I feel really happy and comfortable myself being here connecting with you. I was born in Ukraine and I came to this country as a child refugee. Um, so my first years in Ukraine were with my grandparents. My parents were young parents and they were off in medical school in Leningrad at the time while I was in Ukraine with my grandparents who were raising me
Okay.
while their children were at medical school.
Okay.
And so I lived the first chunk of my life with my grandparents, and I was the only grandchild, so I was kind of doted over. My first big trauma was that my parents came at 4 years old, took me, and brought me to America by way of like Poland and Austria. And we kept moving west and Italy, and then to the United States, and then all these homes over and over again. So my childhood was really marked by a deep grief that I couldn't express for my grandparents. And I didn't understand, even the English language for me was very foreign. I remember thinking, what is all this gibberish coming out of people's mouths? I didn't understand the concept of languages. So there was a lot of uprootedness and a lot of dissociation when I was growing up. And my parents were studying to become psychiatrists, which they both did. They were learning English. We had no family. We had no money. I was the only child. So you can imagine what that was like.
Yeah, I have so many questions, and I know there's so much important work we want to get to.
Yeah.
I just think it's fascinating when you were traveling to all those. Well, first of all, backing up to you were being raised by your grandparents. I think it's interesting that in and of itself, what that was like. I feel like that's a whole book, just that. Your parents were studying to be doctors. What was that like being with just your grandparents? Do you remember that? And do you remember what that was like knowing your parents were away studying?
I don't remember.
Okay.
Yeah. Like my first memories were already going on the train to my parents in they were in Russia studying and I was in Ukraine.
To visit them?
Yeah. To be delivered to them so that we could go to America.
Okay. And when you,
Was my first memory.
okay, that's amazing. And then when you left your grandparents, that was for you like leaving your actual parents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a very intense trauma.
So do you still see them? Are they past your grandparents?
They came 2 years later, luckily. And so it was just a gap of 2 years. And then they continued raising me. So I did.
Oh, you were
them
reunited.
again. But I
Okay.
remember when they came off the airplane, they felt I didn't even know who they were.
Oh my God.
It was like I was so small. I didn't really
Yeah.
them. I had memories of their energy. And it was hard. It's always hard for an immigrant to come to a new country, especially from communism to capitalism pre-internet. It was a different world. It was like coming onto a different planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a very, very intense process. Luckily, at 14, I discovered Paris. I discovered.
That's what I wanted to ask you was what was it like
So I was
discovering Europe?
I was very dissociated. I was in my imaginary world most of the time until I discovered Paris, like until I went to Europe for the first time. I'd never been back. And somehow my parents sent me to this pen pals family whose parents they never met. Like it was just so not what people do now. But it was great. They were wonderful. And I lived with them for 2 weeks. And my parents were arty. They didn't go to museums. They weren't like those kinds of people. They're very practical. They had to survive.
Yeah.
Whereas I went to Paris and I was bathed in this beauty. I never had seen anything like it. Like the language and the way people ate and the beauty with which they set the table. My mom doesn't have that. She's a very intuitive person, but the outer world is not very important to her.
Okay.
Or the world of beauty.
Yeah.
to her. I had never been around it. So I was lit up. And it was the first time where I was like, oh, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm in this body. Now I am.
Oh, okay. 14.
Move back there. Yeah, I was like, I just gonna make it my goal in life to move back there, and then I'll be okay, because then I'll get to have that. I didn't realize you cultivate it from within. I didn't have that context. Then I was also looking at House Beautiful magazines in the local library when I was in 6th grade, looking at people's homes, thinking, oh my gosh, people live like this. This is so beautiful. People have homes like this. It never even crossed my mind, because none of the Russian immigrants in our community have that.
Yeah.
So that was percolating in my spirit until I decided in college that I was going to give it a shot. My parents wanted me to be a doctor. I was pre-med, clinical psychology. I was all set to go to be a psychiatrist too, because I love healing and I genuinely love therapy. I grew up in a very therapeutic environment, talking about mental health a lot. And as I was a teenager, as they did their residency and specialized psychiatry, I was going to be a psychiatrist, but then I thought, I'd give this design thing a shot. I want to move to New York City and I want to see if I can make it. I'll give it 2-3 years. And then if it doesn't work, I'm going to become a doctor like my parents, and that'll be fine. So I went all in. I moved to New York City. Somehow I managed to get a job at House Beautiful, the magazine that I'd coveted. I was be an editor there. I had started out as the assistant to the assistant, and then kind of like in Devil Wears Prada. Not so intense, but in that way went up the ladder.
And you had mentors that helped you along the ways?
I had incredible mentors who I still work with to this day. They're still like my big sisters. So it was this incredible group of super creative women. They're still editors in the field, in the design magazine world. I was really exposed to. So basically, I was flown around eventually, not at the beginning, but eventually. I was flown around as an editor to photographs and a stylist to photograph people's multi-million-dollar incredible magazine-worthy homes, to style. Like there was a photograph as an editor to produce.
Got it. Yes.
To style and tell the narrative through pictures of these spaces. So somatically, that was so healing for me, because my body had never been in homes of beauty like that. I'd never experienced what spaces could actually do to you. And here I was on a weekly basis, being in my early to mid 20s, being exposed to these gorgeous homes over and over and over for years. It really shifted my concept of the relationship between body and space, the soma and the spaces we inhabit. So that was my design world, but I didn't have the language for that yet. I didn't say soma.
Yeah.
At the same time, I realized in my early 20s, actually late teens, that I need a lot of help. I need to do a lot of healing. I worked with therapists, somatic therapists over the years. I did psychedelic medicine, ayahuasca, psilocybin, sound meditation, and I see myself as someone who breaks the generational patterns, the ancestral lineage. I'm the pattern breaker.
Cycle breaker.
In my family, as a gift for having been brought over here and given the opportunities that I've been given, that I get to not pass the shit down to the next generation. So I take that very seriously. And for myself, on a selfish space, but also my kids. I have 2 kids.
How old are your kids?
They're twins, and they're going to be 12 next week.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Boys, girls?
A girl and a boy.
Oh, that's beautiful. Amazing. When did you meet? Are you still with your partner?
Yeah.
When did you meet your partner?
I was already getting a little anxious. I was too old to have kids. I was 36 when we met, and the twins were IVF. And it took me a minute, and I felt like I'd be very lucky to have 1 healthy child, and I got 2. So I feel I very purposefully manifested them.
That's beautiful.
Along with science.
It's beautiful. Yeah, I have 2 as well. One's turning 11 and the other's just turned 13 the other day.
Okay. So we're in the same
we're in the same kind of place. Yeah, raising kind of teenage the teenage phase. You have such an incredibly rich history, and I understand that there was a lot of shaky ground under you, and I understand that feeling, and I know that when people like myself or you, we all have our unique stories of that feeling, that shaky ground. Yours is so unique and beautiful to you. And it's so fascinating, people's backstories, because obviously we could talk for a lot longer. I think it's so fascinating how we start and how we don't understand, like you said, why we're here and what's going on. And it's very disorienting to have that shaky ground and then to start to have that catalyst, that first experience of it feels like what you're describing is like fresh air, like that first calibration to what you were here to do, what you were born to do,
Yeah.
what your mission is. At age 14, you started to feel like you could understand things and things started to make sense in your environment. And you're so dedicated to your internal world, is what I heard you saying. It feels like you're very much your responsibility to be dedicated to your internal world. And you said selfishly, and I think you agree with this. We know it's not selfish because the more you do that cycle breaking, that pattern, the more your children and your partner, the more it's that microcosm of the macrocosm. Anytime I witness someone who's so dedicated to their growth and that is creating that ripple effect in the world, I just want to thank them. You're so dedicated to the path of healing. And I feel like from what I'm hearing that you've done not just one lifetime, but several lifetimes of healing.
Yeah. Oh, a lot.
In one lifetime.
Yeah.
Like truly, the extension of that becomes you taking this amazing psychological background that your parents had the foundation of, and then you studied, and then taking this visceral understanding of spatial awareness and what that can do for our insides and marrying those things together. And then we all get to feel the ripple effect of that. And you're putting that into the world. Spatial alchemy. Spatial alchemy is really important to you. This is what you've formulated from your whole history and then also from your gifts, your zones of genius. I'm curious, are there other moments? I'm sure there's tons of moments that brought this spatial alchemy together that we didn't get to yet. Do you want to share any of those?
Yeah. Well, spatial alchemy, I didn't really have the name for it until much later, but it was just the way I worked with people. My interior design started, I was an editor, I was a stylist already, but people would come to my apartment, my friends, then be like, oh, my friend really needs some help in her apartment. You need to help her. So I started to
Okay, there was a call, a need. Yeah.
there was a need. And I remember the first friend of friends that I worked with, I came to her and she had just gone through a very painful divorce and she was using half of her home. Like
Oh.
sleep on her in her marital bed. And she was sleeping on the sofa, but the whole other side of the house, which she couldn't even go into. Like she was just like, it's as if she lost half of herself.
Yes.
And then I went in deep with her. I was like, what's happening? Why are you only using half her house? And then she just poured open because she trusted me. I was a friend of a friend. And she shared with me this really traumatic, like addiction and this whole intense story of her marriage and how she couldn't sleep or she needed to purify because she couldn't sleep in that bed. So we moved her bedroom to the guest room. We got rid of the mattress and we just emptied that primary bedroom out and just put a yoga in there and put a few candles. I'm like, this is your yoga room now. And
You helped her reclaim herself through her space.
yeah, it started like that. She went deep with me. I was like, okay, let's go. So then I did realize that interior design without that depth, without that understanding of what the person had been through, just like you did with me for this podcast and where they were moving towards, just a collection of pretty things that function well.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with pretty things that function well, but it could go deeper. So that's how I started working with people. And then the next client, I was like, okay, why wouldn't we go as deep as we did with that one?
Yeah.
And so it began.
Yeah, because you can put a lot of pretty things, like you just said, around you that are like of the time or that you find that are like supposed to be stylish or what have you. I mean, half the stuff I have, I'm like, I don't know. I am already, Olga, thinking right before we started recording, going around my office, like, what is that? Why is that there? Is that serving me? Do I need that? Why is there a stack there of layered things that just I'm reevaluating everything already just before even speaking to you because there's that feedback loop. So every time I walk into my closet, which is a space that other people don't see, how does it make me feel?
Yeah.
Every time I walk into my living room, how does it make me feel? And so spatial alchemy, it's bringing this depth psychology and not just depth psychology, but embodiment work, somatic work, understanding someone's insides. And then how can we move forward?
Yeah.
Not just do what looks good. Yeah.
Well, there's a whole process to it.
Yeah, I want to hear about it.
And the process is actually very simple. It's basically mimics, like if you think of the cycle of the seasons, where in fall, the trees shed their outdated identity, old versions of themselves, then they lay fallow, they sit in the emptiness, and then the new buds grow, and then they get big in the whole cycle of the season. So
Yeah.
universal principle. This wand culture, this is just the way it works, the way nature works. So in the same way, alchemy works the same way. So you want to walk through your home and see where the outdated identities, where you're abandoning yourself, where you're not going as bold as you can be if that's what you want in your life, where old versions of yourself live. You want to start looking at your home through different eyes. Like, who is this person that lives here? The way you look at a home of anyone that you walk into, you immediately, you're like, okay, this, and that, you get it. But we're blind to our own home. So the step number one is recognizing the patterns, seeing the codes, seeing what your home is coded with, these outdated identities. Where are you not cherishing yourself? What do you want more in life? Do you want more stability? Where do you see instability in your home? Start asking yourself those questions looking at your home. That's step number one. Step number two is dissolving. So it's deeper than decluttering. Decluttering is a cycle that never ends. Dissolving is your outdated identities, and very worthwhile decluttering. No knocking it. But this goes deeper. What do you want to dissolve? What is no longer resonant with what represents energy that you just don't want anymore in your life? And so you want to give it away. Vintage, sell it, release like the trees, release that and sit in the emptiness for a while, create some space. And then you want to seed the new energy. What is your future self? What are those things that are emerging in your psyche that you want to anchor into real life? So for example, abundance is one that we all, or vitality. So say it's vitality and say that you tend to procrastinate, you tend to move slowly, you have more of a kapha energy, and it's a thing for you. You're not one of those, you're like earthy kind of person. And you want some more fire energy, like walking through your house and saying, okay, what are the heaviest things in my house? What represent the things that I'm trying to let go of? So, and then start seeding. What is that fire energy? Maybe it's like clear glass that has a lip of red around it. It's like rather than chunky brown cups that you're drinking out of. You want to start looking at your routines, do an audit. Where can I cherish myself more? Where could I put some zing into my routines? Not expensive. What if I bought a bright red sponge to wash my dishes? Things are little, but the cumulative effect of all these decisive things, I want vitality, but actually I'm taking the steps to surround myself with that energy. That's a big difference. So before you start buying the new sofa or doing the big renovation, like oftentimes we're told to do a transformation, you want to start small and then start spiraling out. So that's really the process. See your patterns, dissolve, seed the new patterns and then keep moving forward on that, like expand it, a red lamp. Do you want more intimacy? Like look at your bedroom through that lens. Is it full of work stuff? You want to start really seeing your space and making small, doable shifts that doesn't stress your nervous system out.
Yeah. So your book, Spatial Alchemy, right? This
Mhm.
has a lot of this in it.
Yeah, this is how the book is organized. It's a hybrid self-help interior design book. So it's
Amazing.
thick with words like a self-help book, but it has tons of beautiful pictures like an interior design book. So it's meant to be read, not just to be kind of flipped through like beautiful, glossy coffee table books. It gives you actionable, affordable, workable steps to start shifting towards your future self.
Yeah. It's so much deeper than doing a vision board. If you do, everyone understands the vision board movement. We've been doing that for decades and putting that up and then manifesting from looking at that. This is deeper and this is multidimensional in the sense that your whole life, your whole house is this vision board. And how does your space make you feel? So classes, okay.
So classes. So there's one, a free class called Code Your Office for Abundance. You could get it free on my website. Then I have another class called Code Your Home for Abundance, and I go through some of these principles. And then I have a whole series of classes in the planning stages, but those are the ones that are available now.
Yeah, and that's amazing. And then you do all of this really high-end work for magazines and all sorts of beautiful Wall Street Journal, Oprah Daily, Elle Decor. Do you want to share anything about some of the highlights of your career so far that have been just tingling for you?
Well, you know, a lot of my work has been published as a stylist and as an interior designer. But what I really love, I do a lot of high-end projects. I just designed a psychedelic psychotherapy center. So healing spaces are my sweet spot. I love bringing all my different sides together, doing a space that really facilitates and helps people go deeper into their healing, working with sacred geometry, working with focal points, working with symbols. So an altar, the sacred space, and different sensory things. So I love doing that. I love working on people's homes and offices. I do a lot of different projects. I also do sessions, like really affordable sessions, hour long, anywhere in the world on Zoom, where I help people diagnose their space. So those sessions, I've purposefully left them quite affordable so that people could begin to unlock their homes and begin to see how their real home is reflecting what's stuck in their life and how to begin to loosen that and invite the new in. So
Yeah.
when in all ranges, I mentor other interior designers. I work with sessions. I do high-end projects. I like having the full range in my work so that I can work with all kinds of people, not just the 1%.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you want to share experiences from a client, say that you worked with on Zoom. What was the transformation?
Well, I was working with a client in Nairobi, and she couldn't imagine. She was a woman who had just bought a home, a divorced mom, which is rare in Kenya. She had just rented a home and she was creating her office. And she couldn't understand how to begin it because it was this blank space and she had done all this self work and she really wanted to do that. And it really helped, doing the office really helped her clarify her business and what she wanted to bring into her business. Because we started talking about that first. And then we started saying, okay, how do we code that into your office? And it brought her a lot of clarity. And another amazing story, I was doing a course for a group of women who wanted to bring in partnership, and we coded their bedroom with more intimacy. And a lot of them brought it in. And there was this one woman who we talked about getting an object that represents what the energy they want to exchange with their partner. And she got this wood. She didn't cook, didn't really use her kitchen, but she got this beautiful thick wooden cutting board with a handle. It was just gorgeous. And she would oil that cutting board. And she swears that that was the seed that planted the relationship now.
Wow. Okay.
well, oiling the cutting board, the way she
Wow.
described it.
That's so neat. I'm just thinking about my own home in ways in which I'm already like, you've got me going, that I want to improve. What were you noticing in people's spaces that others were missing?
Yeah. Well, one of the main things that I noticed, and this is something that nobody notices until it's pointed out to them and they're like, oh my God,
Yeah.
symbolism in art. So a lot of people see their art on a level of appearance, but they don't see it on the level of symbolism. So I've had clients that had these really sad pictures of barren landscapes in their bedroom, photography of deserts and and they were having trouble getting pregnant.
Ah,
It was just like, do you see the symbolism in this? And then they're like, oh my God. And once you see it, you can't unsee it.
yeah.
Like a person who really wanted to bring abundance into her space, but all her art was like really small, like a lot of really, really tiny little art. She didn't have anything that was like solid, that really held her in the way that she wanted to be held. And I was like, you notice that? You have all this jumbled art that's not cohesive, that's not even really holding your body. So I could see why you're not really contained in your walls. And she was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
People miss the symbolic level in art and also in the home. There's a symbolism in the home that people don't see. They just see the appearance, the things, but there's a layer of symbolism. If you're like psychoanalyzing your
Yeah.
or reading your home the way Carl Jung would read it, like the way you would read a dream. Like if you were looking at the dream of the first thing you see when you wake up in the morning,
Yeah.
the symbols there, or what do you look at beyond your computer? What are you focusing on beyond your computer at your desk?
Yeah.
What is that? What's the symbol there? Looking at it as a dream. So the symbolic layer is one form that I want to speak to.
Yeah, that's amazing. I have this incredible, one of the first pieces I put in this home in Camas, Washington, when we moved from LA, was this huge wooden altar. We practice Buddhism. And so just that thing of you talking about something that's steady and sturdy and that holds you, that is our focal point instead of a TV. And our living room is this huge altar. And I know you like to create altar spaces. And so I'm curious, maybe you want to share what an altar space can do for someone. Like, because some of the clients I've worked with over the years, like when I would do like Akashic record readings with them and I would talk to them about creating a space, ritualizing something so that whenever they go to that same space, they're immediately in that receptive space to be able to receive what they're wanting to receive, that guidance.
Yeah.
So, yeah, will you speak to that?
Altars are like bridges, just like the womb is a bridge where you take something, an ethereal spirit energy, and create a body, bring it, embody it, bring it into form. So I see wombs are bridges, they're portals, however you want to call it. Altars are the same thing. They are portals through the physical world into a world of sacredness and spirit. So it's like I see them as a representation of that which you want to bring into form. And altars could be spiritual or they could be secular. They don't have to have any religious symbology to be an altar. You could just do whatever it is you want to bring into form. So, for example, I talk about having that central object. I call that your power object. Your scroll is your power object. It occupies the central space in an altar.
Yeah.
It's like a bridge towards, so the scroll holds the energy that you want to move towards. If you look at a church or if you look at any kind of sacred space, that's how they use it. So you want to have a central object that represents, that feels like how you want to feel. So if you want to feel playful, if you want to feel more frivolous because you're just been feeling heavy and just dragged down, and you were like, I felt that way. I got this really brightly covered artist painted basketball. It was a white basketball painted with flowers and hands and fun things in the middle of my bookshelf at eye level. And that became my power object. It became eye level is a great way to use an altar space, or surrounding that central object with two identical things on either side, which bring more importance to the central object, elevating that power object. So there's the central object, the two sentinels on each side of it. And then you can kind of go freeform, living things on an altar, but you work with the layer of symbolism. I would not make it too crowded so that each thing has space to breathe, especially you want more space to breathe. It basically, you're creating a representation of how you want to feel. So get creative with it.
I love that. Yeah, thank you. And so nervous system regulation, somatic support, feeling safe and free and open. This is the work that I do. So in terms of all of that and being embodied and transformation, when did that all start to inform your work, and how has using transformation and somatics and embodiment shaped what you do and the outcomes that you're seeing?
As I work with more and more people and realize that people actually want it, like they really want to see their home from a deeper space, there's a lot of magic. Our spaces shape us so profoundly. And when you start intentionally using your space in order to call things in, it really works. It really shapes you on a very deep level. So what I'm seeing is a lot of surprise from people where they're like, oh my God, it worked. For example, there's a woman and she's a documentary filmmaker and she's a longtime client that go in there every year and do some stuff for her. The first time we worked together, her office was crowded and messy. She couldn't get funding and she was confused about her next project. And we hung an art wall and we shifted her office and we literally planted her in the CEO position, and we got her a more comfortable office chair and crafted her office together. And then she got the funding. And then a year later, she was like, my career is on a different trajectory. She's a meditator. And she's like, I knew it when I first meditated in space the next morning after I do these days where I come and redo everything.
And do you ever use sage, or do you ever clear the space with spiritual tools, energetic work? Do you do that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I do it. It's not just the person wants it.
Yeah. Amazing.
So I do use sage and bells and clapping and banishing and releasing the I do a lot of Western esoteric alchemy work.
Amazing.
I work with that lineage, which started in ancient Egypt and went through the Middle East and informed Western culture through our spiritual practices.
Amazing.
So that were kind of underground because the church didn't want it to be really known. So I love poking around in those spaces and bringing those banishing, like releasing, working with releasing the energies. And then what do you want to plant and creating? We create like an altar. That's the first thing I do, like now, not in the future when you get the big sofa and like now. What can we do now? That will make a difference. That will start to move the energy, move the needle. So yeah, I do a lot of that.
Incredible. Well, thank you. Is there anything that you feel like is really important to be heard, specifically for middle-aged women?
I feel like by the time we get to middle-aged, and I'm a middle-aged woman, by the time we get here, we've accumulated so much and we have oftentimes kids and these homes, and there's kind of very little time for oneself. We often get overwhelmed and we put things off, but I would say spending 20 minutes 3 times a week working on your home intentionally, just cleaning out or working on one drawer or one bookshelf or one thing starts making such a difference with whatever practice you breath work or therapy or integration. Like take those insights and plant them into your home. There shouldn't be a separation between what you touch in the breathwork session or the therapist's office or on the dance floor for 5 rhythms or whatever practice you're doing. Take the essence of that and start bringing that into your home. I think it's going to add an immense amount of rocket fuel to what you're wanting to bring into your life.
I love that so much. Oh, I want you in my home.
That can happen.
I'm sure everyone feels that way after they talk to you or meet you or look into your book or take a course from you or what have you, is they're like, I just need you in my home. So, all right. I'm sure there's ways working with your book through the workbook that we can feel empowered to do it on our own. And then, as you say, you have this way of making it accessible for us. If we want to work with you, we can follow you on Instagram. If we want to reach out to you and ask you questions, or where do you want us to go to find you?
You can reach out on Instagram, read all my DMs, and I answer all of them. I'm very present in my Instagram, or you could go to my website, thespatialalchemy.com, and just connect with me through there with my email address.
Amazing. And have you ever brought your work into women's retreat circles?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I've done so many women's retreat circles myself.
Okay.
And I help make spaces more sacred. We use tapestries, we use cloths. I love working with women, especially as they're kind of going through portals.
Amazing. Yeah, because that's my world, and maybe I can find a way to integrate you into that. That would be so fun.
Yeah, it would be fun. I love collaborating.
Ladies and men, if you're listening, thank you for going on this ride with us. Thank you so much, Olga, for giving us your presence, your heart, your wisdom. You're incredible. The work you do is massive and incredible and beautiful and purposeful. So thank you for helping people to not only feel safe in their nervous systems, but to also start to create that transformation so that they can live the life that they truly deserve to have. Thank you for that. You guys can check out Olga's book. I know I'm going to. So loving you. Keep expanding your capacity to feel good, one breath at a time. And we'll see you soon. Bye for now.
See you soon. Thank you.
Hey guys, what I loved about that conversation is how tangible it makes transformation feel. We talk so often about healing and growth and becoming, and yet this brings it into something you can actually touch. The rooms that you move through, the objects you interact with, the spaces that are holding you every single day. There's an invitation here to look at your home with fresh eyes, to notice what's still carrying an old version of you, to begin releasing what no longer fits, and to gently start placing yourself into the life you are growing into. Even the smallest shifts can begin to change how you feel in your body. And when that changes, everything else begins to move. If something in this conversation resonated for you, and you're wanting support not just in seeing your patterns, but actually shifting them in your body and in your life, I want to invite you into my world. I work privately with women inside a 3-month breathwork and Reiki container where we create space for real, lasting change. This is where we work with your nervous system, your patterns, your capacity to feel good in a way that is grounded, supported, and deeply personalized. You can learn more or you can reach out, sageandblushwellness.com, and you can connect with me on Instagram at Siri Baruch Thornton. I would love to hear what landed for you from this episode. Keep expanding your capacity to feel good, one breath at a time. Loving you. And if today's conversation stirred something in you, here are a few ways we can go deeper together. So the Authentic Creative Podcast, where you are now, make sure that you're subscribed so you don't miss more conversations like this. And if you loved this one, share it with a friend who needs to hear it. One-on-one work for private Reiki, breathwork, Akashic sessions where we can go right into your unique medicine. You can connect with me directly. Reach out to me once again. Thank you for being here, for listening, for expanding your capacity to feel good alongside me. I'm sending you love, and I can't wait to connect again soon. Loving you.